Jon, I wanted to ask you about meditation and mindfulness and tinnitus. I have quite chronic tinnitus.
Explain what tinnitus is for people who don't know the word.
I have a continual ringing in my ears and have done now for 10 years. And it is, it's almost the sound that I have in my ears is like a million pins falling constantly throughout the day. And so the word still and the word silent are, because it's like a movement in my head constantly and noise in my head constantly. I'm very lucky. I did an 8-week mindfulness course in the Royal Hospital, the Royal London Hospital, Ear, Nose and Throat Hospital with Dr. Lawrence McKenna. I did mindfulness then, and I've done several mindfulness courses since. I just wanted to ask you about that, and I know kind of chronic pain, and I just wanted to ask you about that. But I also wanted to ask you, in the book The Sound of Silence by, I don't know how to pronounce his name, is it Jon Sumedeo?
Jon Sumedeo.
Sumedeo.
Yeah.
In the chapter, it was actually, the book was recommended by Chris Cullen in London.
Okay, you know Chris?
I do, yes.
Okay, he's incredible.
He's the one I've done.
As is Jon Sumedeo.
Well, I mean, it was just, it was an extraordinary kind of, I've done the .B program with Chris, and I've done silent retreats with him. And, but in the book, The Sound of Silence, in the chapter called The Sound of Silence, he talks about that when people meditate a lot, they can hear a ringing in their ears, which some people might think of as tinnitus, but that sound is outside. It's not in their head. And I just wanted to ask if that almost reframe was resisting.
I don't know. I have the book over here, so I will check out what Jon Sumedeo had to say on that score. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So you have a lot of practice experience, formal meditation retreat practice.
Yes.
So when you're sitting,
yes,
there is this continual dropping of a million pins.
Yes.
Like whoosh.
Yes.
And it never goes away.
Never is a word I'm not comfortable. I wouldn't say never, but it is. I mean, I'm ringing away now, so yeah. I can, and in the book, what he says is that, you know, with tinnitus, it doesn't matter if you're underwater, it doesn't matter if people are talking, it doesn't matter if I'm watching a film.
Always here.
It's above all that. Yes.
Okay. I don't know. I'd have to give that a lot more thought because I don't actually have the experience of tinnitus. So I don't have a kind of first person, except every once in a while, I think it's kind of in the domain of the normal that all of us at a certain point have a certain kind of something like that. But thank goodness it actually goes away. And when it's tinnitus, you know, then it doesn't go away and it becomes really intrusive. The only thing that I can say, you know, well, I was going to ask you, when you're on retreat,
yes,
is it as intrusive as when you're not on retreat? And are there moments when it's not that it goes away, but that it's not a problem anymore in a certain way? There's no barrier between that and wakefulness.
You know, I did a 10-day silent retreat, and on the second day, I just out of the blue, it went, and it kind of, I could almost feel it dropping through my body.
Mm-hmm.
And just aside from that, I have to say, I wake up with you in the morning, Jon, and I go to bed with you in the evening, because I've done the mindful yoga as well every morning, and it's been a lifesaver, your 1 hour. And I've recommended it to everyone in any group I've been in. I've said, do it. It's the 45-minute.
Yeah. The series one guided meditation.
Yes, it's been wonderful. But on that retreat, it went down. But I suppose in a sense, and there's an anxiety there that I'm attached to that. I would so like that to happen again.
Okay, but that's an interesting place to sort of place your attention.
Yeah.
Because that's something that is fungible. There's grasping.
Yes.
Okay. And then there's the knowing of grasping, awareness of the impulse to hold on, because
Yes.
it's so desirable. I mean, you so want the peace of silence underneath the sound that. So this is where I'm asking you, is there some space here in your own experience of practice where there's a difference between what you're calling the tinnitus and the awareness of what you're calling, or the direct perception of the hearing?
There is space.
Okay, well, then that would be, and Achan Sumedo talks about this too. He's like big into space. So that would be the place where I would really focus in without any attempt to get rid of anything, but with the tremendous sort of almost scientific curiosity and interest, like as if the meditation practice and retreat was a laboratory and you were just going to sort of impersonally investigate, what is this? And is the tinnitus you, or is what we're calling the tinnitus a phenomenon that, when held in a certain way, no longer is a source of any form of suffering?
Yes.
We won't talk about whether it goes away or not, because that's so linear and so object subject kind of thing. But if we're talking about the potential for liberation from the suffering that the thought stream and the sound itself, when we get caught up in attaching, liking and disliking, that's a huge domain of possibility.
Yes.
And I can feel that everything I'm saying makes total sense to you, and also that there's some room that you're sensing to explore this where I'm pointing.
Yes.
True, would you say, Cece?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's yes. Actually, I'm not sure, but I'm not sure that the yoga isn't somehow helping as well. That I can.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
And I said to somebody the day before yesterday that it's almost as if I can feel soft, and the body knows the score. I can almost feel parts of my body just releasing something. I've been doing it now for since the beginning of this 11 weeks, and I'm not sure that it's just being able to be more. I think at the end of that 45 minutes, you talk about not only the body being more flexible, but the mind. And some kind of just small, subtle shift around, the tinnitus.
I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I've been meaning to say for days, but what I mean to say and what gets said, two different things. But since you're bringing it up, I want to emphasize two things before we close out for this week. One is, let's start with the yoga that you're mentioning. I cannot tell you how important it is, in my view, no matter how old you are, no matter what shape your body is in, to get down on the floor, even if you need help and cranes in order to get you down on the floor, up off the floor, but to get down on the floor or even in bed and do very simple mindful yoga that this is like, and the older I get, the more, and I've been doing it for well over 50 years, the the more important it the more importance it takes on a multiplicity of different levels, the least interesting of which is the body.
Mm.
But I would love that you've brought that element of it up and that there's really no separation, whether it's involving the tinnitus or any other aspect of life, that there's no separation between that and the meditation.
Mm. No,
And the
absolutely.
other thing, so you would agree with me about that?
You know what, I think I'd agree, because actually as well, at the beginning of the lockdown, I think it was I have a regular meditation practice, but I think that 45 minutes on the mat somehow gave me more comfort and resilience than sitting.
Yeah, and I want to make sure everybody understands that the meditation practice does not equal sitting or the best meditation practice or the most regal or the most transcendent or it does not equal sitting. It equals awareness and and the body door and especially working with the body at what you discover to be its limits, the boundaries, so to speak. And then you don't believe what your mind says about the limits, but you're exploring in the laboratory of the stretching itself or the lifting. So you're cultivating strength, balance, and flexibility and mindfulness all at the same time of mind, of body, of heart. There's something about it that, I don't understand, but it's unbelievably powerful and is as much a part of the practice as sitting meditation or doing body scans or anything else.
and
So
and
just to recommend it to everybody else on this call is something where, as I said, I've been doing it for well over 50 years. And, the older I get, the more I love it and the more it sets the tone for my day because I tend to do it as soon as I wake up.
that's when I've been doing it. And I also have to just add that it doesn't matter about your age, because I'm about to go
Mhm.
into your decade. So it makes no difference whatsoever.
Well, this is very helpful to other people, and I hope, Cece, that it's also been helpful to you. I want to just say two more things. One is the other thing about the early morning waking up in bed, and before you even get out of bed, whether it is to do yoga or whatever, are we making time, so to speak, to not jump out of bed and get going with our day, but to actually ask the question, am I awake? And then finish the job, so to speak, not by
Yeah.
trying to get anywhere, but by actually realizing what waking up actually is. And a very powerful way to do it, not necessarily a body scan, but we've done this a few times, putting your attention in your hands, for instance,
Mhm.
for a period of time, then putting your attention in your feet, taking it out of your hands and putting it in your feet, then maybe left hand and left foot, then maybe right hand and right foot, then maybe the whole body. You can do this in like 5 minutes, makes a huge difference if you incorporate it into your, life on an everyday basis. And then
Mm.
again, the theme from the very beginning is no separation between practice and life itself. But these kinds of ways of instantiating um, embodied wakefulness and mindfulness are incredibly powerful. The last thing I want to mention is that a woman who has tinnitus at UCSF, University of California, San Francisco, whose name is just not coming to me at the moment, maybe a decade ago, developed mindfulness-based tinnitus reduction
Mm.
based on MBSR. And you can Google it, and you're probably rewriting the curriculum in your own experience. So I'm not saying you need this, but just to say that other people that I know have found the practice to actually be liberative when you get beyond having to force it to be either or. It's either here or it's gone. If it's gone, then yippee, I'm saved.
Mm.
But to go beyond that kind of dualism, then there's a certain kind of peace that I think you're already discovering on your own.
Could you just say who that was again, Jon, please?
I can't say who it was because I'm blanking on her name at the moment.
Jennifer Gans and mindfulness-based tinnitus stress reduction.
Oh, did you just Google it? Or
Googled it, yeah.
What's her name?
Jennifer Gans.
Jennifer Gans, yeah. And she's wonderful. She's wonderful. I haven't talked to her in 10 years, but Jennifer Gans, UCSF. And is it called mindfulness-based?
Mindfulness-based tinnitus stress reduction.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, so you're not alone. And thank you, Cece. Really,
Thank you.
none
Thank
of
you.
us are
Thank you.
alone.
Thank you, Soren. Thank you, Jon. Thank you.
Look at the chat. There's various other people who are working with the same condition and have shared various things. So you can hopefully see that in the chat and save it there.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think we're